welcome to the Real Biz Life Chronicles, where we discuss all things business, branding, and life. I'm your host, Tracy Fryer. Now, my guest today is an online personal fitness coach, an actor, model, and YouTuber. His fitness business is called Kilian Fit, and he's helped over 1,500 people lose weight and gain their confidence back. And I also believe he has just finished filming his first feature film. And something else I have to add is that I'm so inspired by how this person constantly shows up every single day on social media, YouTube, you name it. This person is across the board, not only helping his clients, but, taking us on his personal fitness journey of his own. So, Roché Kilian, welcome.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Firstly thank you so much for reaching out and inviting me to come on your podcast, and thank you so much for such a beautiful and you know almost superior, not superior, like a really nice welcome. You make me sound like I'm the top dog in the
Oh,
fitness industry, which is quite nice. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
thank you, Roché. And again, like I said, I'm just so inspired by how you show up every single day. And that takes a lot. Like, how long have you done that for now?
Yeah, it's today is day 201. So
Mm,
it's basically been 200 days. And to be honest, when you think about a 30-day and 90-day plan, it feels long, or it feels very
mm,
short. But when you do every single day and you realize how long a full day, 24 hours is, then that 90 days quickly turns into, an eternity. So
yeah.
you can imagine a 365-day challenge is daunting. And to be at 200 now, looking back, I mean, I have videos that I post every single day,
Mm,
like you said, and sometimes I sneak the day one in with the 200 days or the 150 days, just to kind of give people an indication, because they just see me, and they see it's
yeah.
180, but I sneak that day one in, and then you can really, really see the difference that those days can make. And the
Mm,
reason why I started doing that, like you said, I mean, you feel inspired, is to inspire people. So I guess
mm,
that box is ticked if
yeah.
I didn't inspire you, because the point is to show someone that no matter where you are in life, fitness wise, that if you can stick to something and you make that small little habits, like good habits and good decision, good choices, and you train and do some activities every single day for 365, this is where you are and this is where you could be. So
Mm,
there's a lot of pressure on me to actually make a change, because if
yeah.
at 365 I look the same and I feel the same, then I'm going to be in big trouble. But so far things are going really well.
Yeah. And you say you felt called to do this to show people how you can make that transformation in a year?
Yeah, a lot of what I do, and I mean, I'll be completely honest when I say,
Mm,
this is a business. I mean, we're talking about business today, so
yeah.
everything I do has some sort of, you know, it has something to do with my business. So I would be not telling the truth if I said, like, I'm just doing that to help all the
Mm,
people in the world, and I'm doing it purely of a good heart. It
yeah.
is mainly that for that reason, and I'm just grateful that I can actually use my heart and my empathy
Mm,
and things, and my motivation that I have to inspire people. But it is for, it's for my business. So doing that, or knowing that I could do something that will also then, in a way, get people to come to my business and actually seek
mm,
help, which will then in return help me. um they obviously always say, like, if you help someone, you get double the returns back. So
yes,
that's kind of
karma.
what's running in my head. I'm just trying to help as many people as I can, doing whatever it is that I can, not only just for the videos, but if anyone messages me or sends me an email, I always make the time to help them,
Mm,
regardless if they invest money or anything like that, if they just have a general question, because I know somewhere down the line that will come back. And I think all of us that are in business will understand that it's good to always keep a relationship with your clients or everyone you meet.
yes, definitely. And I wanted to say you can't fake authenticity. So, even though you are doing it for your business, it really comes across that you're very genuine, and you do have a heart to serve. And, even when I reached out for the podcast, I thought, oh my goodness, not a way. And you were so like, you were so welcoming and just,
Yeah.
so willing to help. So thank you so much.
No, it's a pleasure. It's amazing. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to all the questions and just
Yes.
chatting with you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Roché, I'd love to take us back. Where did your journey start? Have you always kind of been into, sports and fitness growing up?
Yeah, I mean, it does go all the way back to my childhood. I
Mm.
grew up in a very small town. It was quite like a big rugby town. So in South Africa, the Australians would know the
Yes.
Springboks are quite renowned in our country. And people, to be honest, especially the Afrikaans community where I grew up,
Mm.
rugby is a very big thing. So I was from a very young age. They call it billikie rugby, which is like a small
Yeah.
ball rugby. And I mean, you could barely walk, and they're already, giving you a ball, and you need to play against each other. So I was actively in that thing, and my goal was to play for the Springboks. So, I trained for that, and I basically did everything to get to that point, and I actually did. I got very
Mm.
close. I got to play provincial rugby when I was 21 and 22, but unfortunately injuries stopped me from then. And I think that mindset of constantly training and having this big goal in the end, or in top of my head, the whole hovering here all the time, it made
Yeah.
me realize that you know when it stopped, I couldn't not do anything. I couldn't, not that I didn't, I still got a normal job, and I went back into normal, you could say, 9 to 5 business. However, I just
Yeah.
always felt that I needed a bigger goal, something insane
Mm.
to chase. I can't just chase a mundane, normal goal to just have a certain amount of money and a certain car. And I'm not a very superficial person. Like, I don't need a fancy
Mm.
car or fancy house. However, I do feel that you should have big goals, even if it is to
Yes.
buy a Ferrari. You might have the money to do that, but you don't necessarily have to buy it. But just to have those type of big goals, it needs to almost scare you, and that kind of did that for me. So eventually, how I got into this was with the with while I was working as a car salesman, a used car salesman. After my injury,
Mm.
it was the only job I could get because I didn't study anything at that point. Um, I felt like I needed to get out of here. And people were always saying, Roché, you're an attractive man and you should
Mm.
potentially start modeling. Why do you not do that? And I honestly didn't have the confidence. I was very insecure. I had one little crooked tooth. Um, so I
I had
said,
the
okay, you
same.
know what? Yeah, I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get braces. So I
Yeah.
used literally the last of, well, the savings that I had, because I didn't have a medical aid as well. So I used that to get
Yeah.
braces, and I paid it
Mm.
off monthly. And I'm not sure I mentioned that my first ever job that I did was, well, I got contacted by an agency that I actually contacted, and they responded back, and they said, Roché, you have potential. Let's see you. And I met up with them, and he did see that I was a bit, I was bigger than normal. I was built quite like a brick, like a rugby player,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
models are not necessarily meant to look that like that. So he said, if you can lose a little bit of weight, I'll give you 2 months. I'll fly you to Cape Town. And at that point, I was so excited. So I lost all the weight. I lost about 12 kilograms in the 2 months,
Wow,
which
that's a lot.
was, yeah, it was the first, that's basically the first time ever I really realized how, you know, consistency work. When I would wake up at
Mm.
5 every morning to run and train every night. So, and for basically for 60 days in a row. And I got the results. And when they saw me, they gave me the cover of Men's Health. And in the cover, the reason why I wanted to mention that first, in that cover, my mouth is closed all the time, all the pictures that they've
Ah,
taken, because I still had braces in my mouth. So I still had braces, but no one noticed that. But
you, yeah.
that was something that I wanted to do. And after they came off, 3 months later, I was quite confident, and I started doing that, and I traveled the world and all those things. And then to come back to the question that you've answered, or why did I get
Mm.
into this, is, COVID happened. We all know
Yeah.
that's something that was quite big, but I also think that it sparked a lot of businesses to of startup businesses to, you know, open their doors because
Mm.
there was nothing else to do. And when you put someone in a corner, that's where you either see that person, you know, wallow and just sit there,
Yeah.
or someone stands up and they just move.
Yeah. And
So
thrive.
fortunately for me, I was a mover, and I thought, what else can I do? Because modeling is out of the question now. What else can I do? And I
Mm.
just remembered all these things that I can help people. And I started with my mother, my father. So you obviously start in your close circle. And both
Yeah.
of them lost 15 kilo. Well, my mother lost 15, my father lost 12. And I was like, wow, that's stunning. So
That
I
is.
asked my
That's a lot
friends
of
to
weight to
do it as
lose.
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
in 3 months, And so my friends
Wow.
did it. And then they started mentioning, Roché, well, you can sell this. You can
Yeah.
actually help people. Why don't you sell it? And that's when I spent, I would say, my father used to say, like, why don't you just go out, just get some sun? Because I would spend 12 to 14 hours in my room, because I was at
Yeah.
COVID, I had to move back into with my
Mm.
parents at 27 years old.
Mm.
And I was just in my room, just constantly working and in a way helping people. And that's also where I met. That's where I found out how. At that point, it was just to make money, but the
Mm.
more people I helped, the more I realized that this is something that people need, because I
Yeah.
started hearing stories of why they are overweight. Why do they want to lose
Mm.
weight? Why do they want to pick up muscle? And it's quite, yeah, the some of the stories are very deep and
Yeah.
emotional
I can imagine.
stories. And if well, most of them that were successful, it wouldn't just be a, "Hey, thank you so much." There
Mm.
was a whole thank you note and crying potentially sometimes even of the gratitude, because it is something that they've wanted to change for a long time. So and then I was hooked. And then I
Yeah.
was hooked. So now I'm just doing that and trying to do and help as many people as I can authentically, because there are so I'm not judging people, but I
Mm.
feel like sometimes trainers and things like that, they do still do it for the money aspect. I think
Mm.
potentially that they started for the right reasons, but maybe have lost their way.
Yeah.
So even those people I want to inspire, if they see me maybe doing well, or being authentic and really blossoming, that they could realize that they can do it too. They have it in
Mm.
them to do that.
Yeah, and as mentioned, it definitely comes across in everything that you do. But I just want to back up a moment. You lost
Mhm.
12 kilos in 2 months.
Yeah, that was I'm gonna be honest with you, Tracy. It's not something that I am necessarily proud of. In a
Yeah.
sense, the commitment that I put in. I woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning. I went for a 5K run, probably every single day. Then I got home. I think I didn't even have breakfast, but I would take just scrambled eggs and bacon. That I would,
Yeah.
have a little bacon blocks or bits, and that would
Mm.
be my breakfast. And I would have nothing throughout the day, just water and maybe a
Wow.
tea. And then when I come back, before I have dinner, I'll go to the gym, smash an hour and maybe sometimes an hour and a half, and then I will have my either chicken, fish, or steak with some potatoes and rice and
Mm.
vegetables. So personally, now I wouldn't give that to someone. I think in total it
Yeah.
was maybe 800 to 1,000 calories, which is not healthy. But at
Mm-mm.
that point, I was kind of desperate to get out of my situation where I was. So I
Yeah, of
had to take,
course.
very desperate measures. So not necessarily proud, but it is possible. And that's what I sometimes
Yeah.
tell people. Like, you can go on these crash diets and you know, all those type of things, but
Yeah.
eventually it's gonna catch up with you. And if we carry on with my story,
Mm.
after the men's health and stuff, you could see how that diet maybe affected the rest of my career.
Right. In what ways, if I can ask?
Well, it was just something that I couldn't sustain. So
Mm.
I quickly went back to kind of like just eating normally. And
Yeah.
this was before I now worked out my Kilian Fit and
Yeah.
RK400 plans. So I didn't necessarily know a lot about fitness. I was 24 years old, I think, when I
Mm.
moved. So I Yeah, I just got went back to normal eating, so I started picking up a little bit of weight again, and then I because at that moment I was signed. As soon as I got the cover, I was signed at a model agency.
Right.
So then there were measurements taken, and even at that point, even though I was really lean, I started, and I don't want to blame the model agencies because I mean they have a job to do, and
Yeah.
I don't want to say that they're bad people because they are really amazing, every single person. However,
Mm,
they do ask you to be a certain size, to match to
I've
fit the
heard.
clothes, and you have to be,
Mm,
especially obviously women may be worse, but
yeah.
yeah. So there was a lot of pressure for me to stay that way, and
Mm,
because of all the muscle that I've built over the years, to lose muscle is massive. So
mm,
eventually, I then decided to over the next year to also just keep on with this diet, which I did. And I lost
mm.
a lot of weight. I lost a lot of muscle. I didn't even look the same anymore. Eventually, when I traveled
Wow.
overseas, my first trip to England, I I wasn't working at all. So now not only am I skinny and pale and I'm not working, I'm not making money. So you
Mm,
start to really find emotional stress and things like that. So, you know, but all of these beautiful things had to happen in order for me to,
yeah,
do what I do today. So,
of course. And did you find it obviously took its toll on your mental health as well? Because you're trying to sustain being super skinny, super lean, and then you're trying to look for work, and it's a lot of pressure, as you mentioned before.
yeah, I think also you start to, and I say this to my wife and well to most
Mm,
clients as well, is you eventually believe that you are overweight even though you are skinny. You
wow.
start to, like, I think it's called body dysmorphia, I think, maybe,
Yes,
if I'm not
it
mistaken.
is. Mm,
Um, so I would fit clothes, and because I was in a country, like at that time I was in Istanbul and I was modeling suits. Now the fit was just different. It's different to South
mm,
Africa. In South Africa, they potentially give us a little bigger suit to start off with. Where there it was small. So even though I was so skinny, the pants would still not close properly, especially around my thighs. And in my head, I am
yeah.
overweight, and I need to
Mm,
stop eating. I need to run more. I need to stop training legs. That so your mind starts wandering, and it's
mm,
so. And then you look at pictures. I look at pictures now when I was in Istanbul,
yeah.
and I look like a scarecrow. I look like one of
Mm,
those little stick men. So it's crazy how at that point I can vividly remember that I thought I was overweight, and I'm
mm.
basically double the size now, and I feel like I could still get bigger.
Yeah,
So
wow, isn't it
it,
weird?
it
Hey.
it's all it definitely affected my mental health, to a point where I made very, very stupid decisions.
I know it may seem that way, but I also think it says something about your mindset because to make those extreme decisions and measures, not everyone can do that. And I know it was very drastic, but to
Yeah, yeah,
only eat a certain amount, and it just sounds like you're very driven in terms of when you focus on something. And again, not everyone is like this, that
yeah.
you will do whatever it takes to get there. And I think it's only the top 1% of people in the world are wired like that.
I mean, I'll take that as a compliment, but I've noticed, and I mean, I'm sure you've noticed this yourself. Oh, people should know
Mm,
that if you really look at the most successful people in the world, I mean, yes, there are a percentage of them that have that kind of had a backup from their parents, or maybe
yeah.
their father was famous, so naturally they'll be famous, or their father
Mm,
had money, so naturally they'll inherit and also have
yeah.
money. But most really good stories started off with people that had nothing, people
Yeah.
that didn't have parents, they didn't grow up with parents, or maybe their father was an alcoholic, or maybe they
Mhm.
had body dysmorphia when they were young, or maybe they were teased when they were younger, so they turned out to be something else. So I'm not saying that I wish I could pinpoint what it is that my struggles was, but I tell my wife as well the same when I said now with the Ferrari and stuff. I personally am not someone that wants those material things. I don't want
Mm.
that, but I've said to myself that that is something that I'm going to chase. I think money plays a big role because potentially, because I came from a small town, I think at the age of 20, I would say, no, not 20, 29 maybe. maybe
Yeah.
29, when I started my business, and after COVID, that was the first time in my life. So imagine 29 years that I
Mm.
felt like, hey, I'm actually not poor. I'm not
Yeah.
struggling. I'm not
Mm.
stressing about, you know, the small things like going out with friends. I mean,
Mm.
my life affected. It's funny, but I mean, I didn't even go on dates sometimes because I couldn't afford, going and being embarrassed, where I knew as a man, that's just my belief that on the
Yeah.
first date, you have to pay for the
Mm.
date. And I knew I didn't have money, so I'm not even going to ask someone on date. So,
Mm-mm.
small things like that affected my entire life.
Mm.
School trips that I potentially didn't go to, and um, there's a lot of things. So I think, like I said, I
Mm.
can't be sure, but I think that is something that when you mention the mindset of just never giving up, it's almost again like it's there's a fear, that I go back. There's always that
Yeah.
fear
Mm.
because I've realized that it could be just like that. Like I can easily, and I'm not talking about being in a car accident and losing your legs.
Yeah.
That would be
Mm.
horrible. But I'm talking about something like just someone not showing interest in your business. Maybe there's something else. A trend moves on to something else, and there's
Mm.
an app that gives you every single thing, and it's AI operated, and there you go. All the personal trainers, everyone's gone.
Yeah.
Or modeling and acting gets taken over by something. It could be so quick, and then
Mm.
you know, and then I'm done. So I constantly work towards the future and to get more, to make more, to help more. Um, and yeah, I pray and I have faith. That's all.
Yeah, and you've touched on something, I have the same fears in my business, been in branding and graphic design. I mean, AI, Canva, wish I'd thought of it, are completely taking over those spaces. But I think an essential part of being an entrepreneur and having that mindset is kind of pivoting, right? And keep moving. And it's interesting what you mentioned about that money mindset. And I think, sometimes we're made to feel bad because, even if we do want a Ferrari, well, what's wrong with that?
Yeah,
It's, that person from having my own business, I've realized has worked really hard to potentially have that car. Hopefully they're not
yeah,
in debt. Like hopefully it's paid off.
correct.
But yeah, it's those drivers that drive people to, constantly stay focused and keep moving along.
No, that is true. That is true.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, again, for me, it's always just been adapt. Well, how can I say? My dream was this big, for instance, when I was
Mm.
young. I mean, I was saying, yes, I wanted to play for the Springboks, but after that didn't happen. My dream
Mm.
was just to make enough money to eventually buy a house and stay in my small town. And then
Yeah.
you push a little bit, and then I got the modeling contract, and now my dream all of a sudden, I didn't want that anymore. I wanted something more. And
Yes.
now every time you get something, and every time your business, now you have a little business. I mean, I haven't worked for someone, a boss, since 2016.
Wow.
So
That's
I
great.
I can't even imagine myself going back into
Mm-mm.
the workforce and working a 9 to 5. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just so used to doing my own thing. Um,
Mm.
and now my dreams are it is incredible. It's incredible. If I had to, I mean, I could potentially tell you what it is, but
Yeah.
well, what I'm saying is that there's just so many things that I want to accomplish, and I'm sure you have as well. And it's
Yes.
actually unbelievable. Like if you tell someone, they might potentially be like, "Okay, well done," go for it. But it's
Yeah.
it's so- it's so impossible that they don't believe it's going to happen. But I like it that way because everything that
Mm.
I have now, and there was a nice little quote that someone, I read, that they said everything you asked for, years ago, you have now, or something like that.
Mm. Yeah.
Of everything you ever wanted. All you have now. Oh, yeah, no, this is what the quote said. Everything you have now, you once asked for in the past, or something like that.
Yes, I think I saw that.
So,
Was it with Alex Hormozy and Chris Williams? I
I
think,
mean,
Chris Williams was saying to Alex Hormozy, like, everything you wanted, the goals you've had, you achieved. And there was something about the bar kept getting moved every
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it
exactly.
was really good. Mm.
So, for me, no, that's just how it is. So I do play a lot with my words. I'll never say, when I'm when I'm successful, when we move to England, or when this or when that, I
Mm.
always, oh, sorry, I don't say if. Like if we do this, I always say when. I
Yes.
always make sure that my words are constantly, you know, meaning that we are going to have it. And
And
I mean,
manifesting. Yeah.
the same with the movie. I spoke to an actor yesterday, that's in the movie that I'm playing in, and I said to him,
Mm.
he asked me about something. I said, you know what, exactly last year this time, I told someone that, because I was invited to the performance, or the festival, as a guest.
Mm.
Nothing. I didn't play in anything. I was just there as a guest. And I
Yeah.
said to everyone there, even my family, eventually afterwards, I said, Watch next year. I don't know how, I don't know when and who. And next year, I will be at this event again because I loved it so much. And I will be there because I starred in something. And it
Mm.
took months, but it, I was obviously doing auditions, doing my part, and I got the role. And
Yeah.
now tomorrow I'm going to a festival and I've got my little VIP tag, and I'm invited as
Nice.
an actor. So, you kind of speak these things in existence. I don't want to go too much in like law of attraction and stuff like that, but
Oh, I love it.
I
Please
just,
do.
yeah, I just enjoy, saying things because I know. I mean, if on my YouTube channel, I always kind of do these little small predictions because I'm
Mm.
hoping, and I know that one day when everything goes well and I have what I want, I can go back to those videos and then post
Yeah.
those videos. Let's say, for instance, I'm driving in a Ferrari and I post a video from 10 years ago where I was maybe
Yeah.
in a small Volkswagen saying that
Mm.
one day I'll drive in a Ferrari. I mean, that's just pretty
Yeah.
cool, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
So I like putting these little nuggets in my YouTube and just in my life, and using positive affirmation and stuff.
Yeah, and definitely manifesting them as well. And I think
Mm.
the YouTube channel is powerful because you've kind of said it once and someone else plays it back and it just the
Oh
universe
yeah.
hears your voice and keeps providing. That's maybe why it happens so fast.
There we go. There we go. Just start a YouTube video and just spit out what you want for the future, and you play it on repeat and shuffle on the YouTube.
Yeah. And then next thing
Yeah.
you know, and Rochelle, tell us about your movie, please.
Well, I mean, it's a romantic drama.
Hmm.
But I would say slash comedy, to be honest. There's some fun in it, but there is a lot of drama, and I am the center. Well, I play a big part in the drama. I
Mm.
play the lead actress's ex-husband, and I'm a
Right.
DOP, so a director in making movies in Hollywood. And I came back because I'm South African, so I came back after
Mm.
all these big movies, and I'm basically a very young retired, you know, director because I just have so much money. So I stay in a beach
Mm.
house, and I'm very entitled. My father, my parents were rich. I was raised, so I had to kind of play. And this is quite funny. I said to someone as well, I'm also playing the part that I mean, not the bad side, but
Yeah.
I'm playing a role that I didn't grow up entitled. I didn't
Mm.
grow up with money. I didn't grow up getting all these things easily, which this character
Mm.
has. I get to basically play a whole different person. So yeah, and I just give her trouble, and we have a kid, and the whole story is about her falling in love with the boxer,
Okay.
her boxing coach, that she kind of learns to fight. And so she is the lead role, and
Yeah.
she learns to fight for herself, and she meets love in this way. So she obviously gets fired from her job. She's a designer, and so she fights back on that side, and she
Mm.
physically fights in a boxing ring, but also finds love. And yeah, I'm just giving her all sorts of problems, and I want to take custody of the kids, and then I'm flirting with her, and then she eventually comes and she breaks up my engagement with my model
Oh
girlfriend.
no.
It's a big thing, but it is a really nice movie. And yeah, I
Hmm.
think it's gonna be. It's sad that it's in Afrikaans because it won't be worldwide,
Oh, it's
but
an Afrikaans film. I was going to ask. Yeah.
it is Afrikaans. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And what's the name of it, Roche?
It's called Gebokste Liefde. So
Okay.
in English, it'll be boxed love. So
Yeah.
boxed
I
as in
was trying
like
to
you
translate
know
that.
boxed in
Like
a little,
enclosed.
yeah, like enclosed love.
Yeah.
However, in Afrikaans boxing as well.
Mm.
So it's kind of like semi boxing, but also boxed love.
And I guess my question is, as business owners, we often have to step into different personas. Like, 1 minute you're leading a team and then you're presenting a proposal. How did you find playing a completely different role that you weren't familiar with
Is that in the movie
in the
that you're
movie?
talking
Yeah. Yeah.
about? Yeah, it is, it's difficult to explain how my mind actually works. I have so many things.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been modeling for years. Now I'm in fitness, and this is basically my business. And then all of a sudden, a few years ago, I started the acting as well. So I think, and I don't want to sound full of myself, but I
No,
do
just say it
feel
like it is.
like acting is something that came natural to me as a
Mm,
child. Like, I guess again, it maybe I'm just trying to figure it out. Even now, just talking about it, it could be a lack of things in the past, maybe as a child. So
yeah.
you imagine a lot of things. You
Yeah, you
imagine
do.
being a certain character. You imagine playing the hero in this weird movie, and you have swords and all those type of things. So I was, according to my parents at least, someone that I had an Australian accent at the age of 7, for instance. Because I would
Wow,
just
did you want to put it on?
oh no, no. So
Good day, mate.
yeah, I was just playing with accents and
Hmm.
movies and dancing and jumping, and I mean those type of things. So I think it came out naturally on set, but
Yeah.
it was funny because people would the sad thing was, or not sad thing, but I would be on set and then I would speak to the cast and the crew, and I'd speak to everyone. Everyone will ask me, so hey, so what do you do?
Yeah.
Or I mean, but in there, I think they're asking like, what other movies have you done or things, and then I would tell them like, no, this is like my first movie, and I'm actually a personal trainer, and that kind of
Mm.
surprises them because you don't you think that people that are in acting, that's their life, and
Mm,
that's
you
something
do.
that they only do. And I know, like I spoke to the previous actor, that is all he does. He's constantly
Yeah.
doing acting, commercials, and he's there's nothing else that and to be honest, again, this is just my motivational side, because he said that he is struggling financially, and I
Mm,
said to him, it's not because the industry is bad. It's just that in South Africa, if things don't necessarily go well, you have to do something on the side.
you do.
And it could be
Mm,
anything. I mean, he is, to be honest, way better built than I am in a sense of leanness.
yeah.
Maybe not as big. So, there's so many things that he could do and start a business and do a side hustle. Um, but I think it's just my business mindset. I can't, like, with my, I mean, we'll speak about that, but I'm launching
Mm,
something, an app soon, and I know that's
yes.
gonna free up so much time of my time. But in a way, I'm thinking, okay, but what am I gonna do with my time?
Yeah.
Because I quite like being busy. I like doing things.
Yeah.
I'm so used to working constantly. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I might even open up another business. Maybe I'll start something else, or maybe I'll spend more time on YouTube. But I'll never. I'll always do something, and I feel like some people, maybe they choose one thing and then they
Mm,
stick with it, whether it's
yeah.
going well or not. They believe that, and you have to stick to plan A, because you
Yeah.
don't want to divert to plan. You don't want plan A, B, C, and D, because then where are you going to put your attention to? But if you
Mm,
see, plan A is not necessarily or doing that well, it's good to go do a little plan B to kind of assist plan A, if that makes any sense.
it does, definitely. And I'm wired the same as you. I have my, podcast, my branding business, my jewelry business. And someone asked me, like, so what do you want to like do in 10 years' time? I was like, oh, of course I want to, everything's running without me. And they're like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, travel. And then I was like, I guess there's only so much traveling you can really
Yeah, yeah.
do. Like, and then I was like, oh, maybe I'd still do the podcast. But yeah, it just kind of hit a nerve because I was like, well, I'm working hard, I'm driven, doing all this stuff, but like,
Yeah.
what is that actual end goal? Like, what do I want to be doing in 10 years' time? But obviously I love everything that I do,
Yeah.
but it did really get me thinking, isn't it funny? We want this financial freedom, time freedom, and then when we actually have it, we're like, well, what do I do now? So,
No, that is true. I mean, listen, all
uh,
I'm telling myself that it will change and happen naturally as I get older. The
yeah.
same way, my when I in my early 20s, I wanted, I didn't necessarily have a business mindset. I was just having fun, and I had
Hmm.
simple goals, like goals to be a Springbok rugby player and things like that. So, um, but then as I got older, things changed, and now I got married as well. So I
Yes,
definitely feel like,
congratulations.
thank you so much. I do feel like things I'm naturally put into this more mature Roche, and I feel like
Mm.
maybe in 10 years' time, I would potentially be, just in a different mindset. I'll be completely different. Maybe I will be get into a travel mood, and I'll start traveling
Hmm.
and do
Yeah.
work from other countries, and eventually you'll go back and maybe I'll start painting. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. And what you said earlier about, having faith and praying, it sounds like you just really trust God's plan, the universe's plan that they have for you.
Yeah, I definitely do. I feel like also it all goes back to the hard times that I
Mm.
went through when I was overseas, when with the eating and just financially, and just, I mean, there were literally days, without trying to, ask for sympathy from anyone,
No, please.
but there were days where I didn't have food. Um, there was a special in Istanbul. I loved it, actually, to be honest. Um, it's like 2 lira, and a lira, I think, is 4 rand in South Africa, which
Okay.
I'm not sure how many dollars that is
About
but
40 Australian cents. Yeah.
yeah. Well, so it was basically eight. So it was two, so 8 rand, which is very cheap,
Mm.
and you get a whole, like a bowl of soup. And I think for
Nice.
1 lira you get this long, soft white bun. So that was
Yeah.
3 lira, and that was basically my meal for the day for about a week. And there were reasons for all of that and for the money struggles
Hmm.
and things like that. But I remember making a decision, and this is, well, one of the reasons why I've went to my faith, because I had trouble with God. I still have lots of questions and things like that. But I
Hmm.
remembered going to a casting, and taking the bus there, and on my way back it was about 20 kilometers away from where I stayed, and I had enough money to either take the train back, and that
Yeah.
would be all. So then I'll be home, or I use the money for this. There was this little bread roll, and I guess your emotions just, it's I'm an emotional eater. So I was like, okay, I'll
Same.
just buy the bread. I'll buy the
Yeah.
bread and I'll walk home. And
Mm.
as I did that, I started walking, and then it started raining. I didn't have an
Mm.
umbrella, and it started to get dark. And I just remember that moment. It was, I mean, I can think about it now, where
Yeah.
I was crying in the rain, and I thought to myself, I'm a 26-year-old man. Yeah, I told myself I'm a 26-year-old man. What am I doing here? Why
Mm.
am I here? Why is God, why is he putting me through this, and all those type of things? But now looking back, I know why he did it, because he made me
Mm.
such a strong, um, person for my wife and for clients, future clients, and to be confident in even speaking to you. I was a very
Yeah.
shy person. So I think all of those things have given me some faith. And then, of course, when I came back, I had no money again, and I thought, let me give this a shot. So I started reading the Bible from the first page, and
Mm.
within 2 months, I think I got to Numbers, which is the fourth book in the Bible. Um, Things started changing. I mean, I started my RK400 fitness business at that point, and I started generating money, and it was incredible. So obviously, that
Yeah.
I attached that with, okay, this is probably because I'm reading Bible. So um, I thought, oh, that's probably why. So in my prayers, I would always thank God for this, and yeah, it's just kept going.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And the same way for me, whenever I, get an eyelash and you blow in the eyelash, sometimes people say
Yes.
make a wish,
Make a
or
wish. Yeah.
maybe a bird, takes a little mark on your shoulder.
That happens
They
often.
always say
Yes.
make a wish, but for me, it's not a wish for me. For me, immediately I just go, I'm like, okay, it's not a wish, but God, please, just help me
Yeah.
with my future
Mm.
goals and things like that, because I really want to make you proud and make my parents proud and whatnot. And so
Mm.
far, I've gotten everything that I've asked for. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So,
And so much of what you're sharing resonates with me because I think my first year of business, I'd saved a little nest egg, kind of finding my way. And I think I was down to like, my last $100. And I was like, this is it. I'm done. I should have listened to everyone. I'm a failure. I think I was,
oh yeah,
box
those thoughts
34
do
at
come
the
through.
time. Yeah. Yes. All that lovely stuff that we tell ourselves. And I was like, I'm done. I'm doomed. I should have never done this. I should have just stayed employed. And by some way, a miracle always happens. Like I'll suddenly
Mhm.
land a client,
Oh
or
yeah.
I'm a firm believer, like God always provides no matter how dire straight the situation might be. And I think you
Mhm.
highlighted something else that when you're going through those tough times, it's really, really hard. And you think, oh my gosh, God, why me? And you have all these questions. But looking back, you always realize why He's put you through those
Yeah,
situations.
yeah. No,
Mm.
100%. You know, I can I can I can't even tell you on my hands how many times it was do or die, and then something at that last minute, I'm talking
Yeah.
about a payment coming through before rent, or something incredibly crazy that you and as soon as it happens, I immediately close my eyes and I'm like, thank God,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I mean, there's no one else that
Same.
can explain how this happens.
No.
And there's this quote where they say, you know, um, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. So,
Love
you
that.
know, he knows that you and I and most other people are strong enough to endure these type of challenges,
Mm.
and that's why he sometimes gives that to us, because we he knows we can handle anything that the
Mm.
world throws at us. So we just have to
Yeah.
have faith that that's it.
Yeah. No,
You know.
thank you for sharing, Roché. It's yeah, I love that you touched on that. Something I do want to ask, being in the modeling industry, being an actor, being a fitness personal trainer, how do you find obviously in those roles, someone like yourself or someone who is super fit would often get objectified. How does that make you feel? If someone's like, oh my gosh, Rochelle, you're so hot and it's constantly a visual sort of thing. How do you handle that? Like, does it get too much sometimes?
You know, it in the beginning at least, or
Mm,
even now still, I do feel like I thrived on it,
yeah.
especially coming from a place of insecurities and
Mm,
constantly needing some sort of
like validation.
recognition,
Yeah. Mm,
validation for my things. But I think what happened is when I started, it was really nice, and I wanted
yeah.
validation. And people would say, "Roché, oh, your eyes, oh, your body, oh, I love your hair, oh, the curls, I love the hair," and all the small things that
Yeah.
very superficial. I would,
Mm,
it'll suck it in, and I'll be like, "Okay, Roché, you are actually these things. It's nice."
yeah.
Um, and then over the years, obviously I've been modeling for almost 10 years. June was 9 years.
Mm,
So, you know, after a few years, you realize you start to feel like, especially in modeling, you kind of feel like a number. You kind of feel
yeah.
like this prop, or this man that they call beautiful and handsome, but
Hmm.
just a shell. And I think that's when I started this fitness and the fitness business, and when I started the um the YouTube and motivating people, I wanted them to see that I'm not you know,
Yeah.
just this guy that, because
Mm,
these things are, your eye color, your hair, your skin tone, all of those things were given to you by God. I mean, that was
yeah.
something that you were born with. You can't help. Yes, potentially you can get yourself a six pack, but you
Yeah.
know, the rest is not up to you. So I felt like people were basically validating, giving me validation, giving me all these praise, but for something that I didn't necessarily deserve, because I just got it for free.
Yeah.
I'm looking after it, but so I wanted to show them that there's more, and that Roché Kilian. So when you
Mm,
say your name, when you say Roché, who is Roché? Right? Roché is that person inside. It's not Roché is not my hands or this body.
Yeah.
It's a name that was given for, obviously for me, but there's someone inside, and I wanted to show them who that was. So lately, things like that do kind of trigger me, or I do feel like I need to then, as soon as I hear something, I need to prove to them, like, hey, you know
Yeah.
what the worst is when you speak to someone and then they say, oh wow, you're so, especially on social media, when I reply to people, they'll be like, oh wow, you're actually such a nice guy, and
Oh
you're
my
so
goodness.
you're so wise. Or I listened to your YouTube video and I didn't know you were this wise, or you were so motivational, or and that
Wow.
then I know that they obviously had a superficial idea and they maybe thought, oh, it's just
Yes.
a little pretty face. So I do get that. But I
Mm.
have learned to just brush it off, and then to, you know, put more effort into the wise side. That is also a prayer that I always
Mm.
pray for, to for God to give me wisdom, because that's what he did with Solomon. He
Yes.
asked for wisdom, but then God gave him like money and power anyway. So I'm hoping the power and the money is
Yeah.
coming later. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Well, again, thank you for being a guest because it's a great way to kind of showcase who you actually are, past the face and everything that everyone sees as well.
yeah.
Rochelle, I wanted to touch on your app that you're launching or you've just recently launched.
Yeah, it's coming out on Monday, no, Tuesday,
Mm,
the 2nd of September. And I'm really, really excited. I have done a soft launch. So family members and a few of my friends have done the app
great.
so far, and they're super, super excited and positive. Yes, I've had like one or
Mm,
two things, like maybe a thumbnail that's not showing, or, maybe my surname in one instance had two L's, but nothing major.
mm,
Um, and I'm excited to, obviously from a business perspective, it's a level up, right? You start your
yeah.
business, and year one and year two, and they have said that after 5 years, if your business is still up and running, the chances
Yeah.
of it being successful is pretty good. So 5 years was now in January,
Oh,
and
congrats.
thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. So it's been more than 5 years, and not only has it been just leveling up, but I'm actually, you know, launching something new, and I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to help a lot more people. I'm making it affordable for everyone,
Mm,
and it was so tough to think about a price, because I wanted to make it affordable for everyone, but also not to a space where people might not buy the app because they think it's too affordable, or they think maybe
yeah.
it's bad. Because if you really go inside, you know the features that it gives you, I mean, it literally takes your location where you are. So if you can't make a meal, let's say your lunch, you can't have lunch, it gives you all the restaurants, the fast food place, everything around in your area,
Great.
that with calories, all the meals. So maybe a KFC twister or a wrap, it'll tell you exactly the calories and the macros, so that you can
Awesome.
supplement. So I mean, that's worst case emergency, but there's so many other features, and then a nice community where everyone can, everyone that is on the app,
Mm.
let's say eventually there's 100 people, it's a whole community of 100 people. They can send pictures of their improvements,
Oh,
their
yeah.
personal best, they can put there. So I'm just excited for that. It'll free up, like I said, because I used to do all these plans manually. So it'll free
Mm.
up some of my time, which I can then actually spend with the clients,
Yes.
and actually, you know, make more YouTube videos, or spend more time on that to, again, help people more. And I've recently been doing more videos in the gym, so that people can actually see how I work out,
Yeah.
and what the best exercises are for certain muscle groups, and just how I do things. And
Mm.
because I kind of learned a lot from just watching other YouTubers. So kind
Yeah.
of, there's so many things, but the app is yeah, it's coming soon, and I believe that it will be successful. I have to believe that, and yeah, we'll see.
So let us know once it goes live because this will go live in 3 weeks' time. So we'll pop the link
Okay,
in the show notes. So if anyone's
great.
interested, and what's the name of the app, Roche?
Well, the before, my business was RK400,
Mm,
so Roché Kilian 400, but I thought because it's something crazy, it's something new,
mm,
and I wanted to keep my name in the app,
yeah.
so I called it Kilian Fit.
Great.
So Kilian Fit is the app, and you can have it on your phone. It's quite nice to kind of just have the app just right here
Yeah,
on
convenient.
so you'll see the app right there.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So I can obviously send you the link for that,
Yes,
and
please.
I'm actually having obviously the launch month. I'll have a discount. So once they go on the app, they'll see that there's a massive discount for the first month in September, which they can just kind of just use to check out the app and see if it's something that they even want to do. So
Yeah, fantastic. We'll definitely pop that in the show notes. So Roché, so I've been on a massive health journey and I know the amount of hard work that goes into it, right? And achieving those milestones that we sometimes can't even ourselves believe that we are capable of achieving.
yeah.
What would your advice be to someone who knows they perhaps, well, I was 20 kilos overweight. They lack in motivation. They just think that it's all too hard. What would you say? What would you say to that person? Like, what is the first steps that that person could take to help them on that journey?
Well, you know, I would definitely say you have to start somewhere,
Mm,
regardless of where, if you are already fit and you want to get fitter, or
yeah.
maybe you are very out of shape and you can't even run. You can barely walk. Anything, regardless of where you are, you have to start where you are currently at. And once you do, it's difficult to say to someone that, just be disciplined. Just
Yeah.
do whatever this does, do it every single day, because life comes at you from all angles. Like I said,
Mm,
when you have financial struggles, emotional problems, the last thing you think about is your fitness, and that's probably why
mm,
most people maybe lose themselves in that department, and maybe not take good care of themselves. But it is time for you to, and possible, 100% possible for you to take
mm.
back. That's why I'm even doing my transformation in 365 days, because I know it is possible. And if you could, my advice would be to, you don't have to pay anything. You don't have to pay money. I mean, YouTube, Google, these
Yeah.
podcasts, everything is free. You can get this
Mm,
advice anywhere for free. So just take some time maybe, and find some trainers and look at a few videos, but find a really nice meal plan. It doesn't have to be too strict like I did with my 2 meals in a day and
yeah.
running. Just something that is sustainable, that is healthier than what you normally eat. And if you can stick with that, because that's the most important thing. It's
Mm,
difficult to stick to a tough diet, but if you have a sustainable one, that includes a few of the things that you like. Let's say, for instance, you enjoy having fruit, then make sure that there's a lot of fruit in there, because then it's not going to
mm.
feel like a diet. So
Yeah.
if you can stick to that, and you can be active, like I said, it all depends on where you are in life. Active could
Mm,
mean just to walk around the block every day, and then after 2 weeks, you maybe do 2 blocks, and then 3 blocks,
mm,
and 4 blocks, and then maybe you run 1 block, and you kind of like have that progression. Or if you are already someone that's fit, like, running, going to the gym 5 days, or 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week, um, and just, I think, create small goals for yourself. Don't say, I want to lose 15 kilograms in the next 3 months. Rather, tell
mm.
yourself that I want to lose a half a kilogram this week. If I can do this, then that'll be great. And
Yeah.
obviously, then every week, a little, half a kilogram, half a kilogram, half a kilogram. And the nice thing about those small goals is you can actually tick them off, because you're going to have
Yeah.
to wait 3 months in order to say, yep, I lost 15 kilograms. Where
That's
if
a
you
good
can,
point.
yeah, if you can make these small little goals every week, you can tick off and say, hey, I've lost a half. And that tick alone, I
Mm,
know it's funny, but it kind of, it sparks that motivation again,
yeah.
because you achieve something, right? You're like, I didn't
Mm,
think I could do it, but I actually lost a half. And
yeah.
the next time you do, and as soon as you start ticking 4 or 5, I'm telling you, it's like a snowball effect, and you just want to tick
Mm,
more and more and more and more.
yeah.
So make the achievements, um, have a big goal, and then you always ask yourself, what do I do? What do I do every day here to get that big goal?
Yeah.
And I
Mm,
think, that's probably the best advice. And then I guess just a little motivational statement is to know that you can do it. I've done it. I've done it through like hard times.
Mm.
I've been overweight. I've been skinny. I've been every type of weight that you can think of. However, if you find a reason why, and the reason shouldn't be just to have abs so you can get a girlfriend.
Yeah.
It needs to
Mm.
be deeper than that. And I know there are people out there that actually have health issues when it comes
Mm.
to their weight loss. So it's important for you to find out why. There was this man that he also had health issues, and he went to the doctor, and they asked him, he said to him, listen, the doctor didn't say that you need to work out. This is, you have health issues. He asked him,
Yeah.
do you want to walk your, how old is your daughter? And he said, like, she's 13 or 7. And he said, do you want to
Mm.
walk her down the aisle? And he was like, yeah, of
Mm.
course. And he said, well, if you keep on doing what you're doing now, you won't be. And
Yeah.
that kind of hurts you as I
Perspective.
guess as a father. That's
Mm.
like, wow. So it's a whole different perspective. So if you can find,
Yeah.
like, sit down and really think what it is that you want and why.
Mm.
Yeah, the motivation is going to come like just like a burning fire inside you, and that's what you need, because we all have
Yeah.
different reasons, but just find yours. It's hard to say because I don't know you. You're watching this now. I don't know what you're going through, but you will find it if you have faith.
Yes. And otherwise, get Roche's app and he can guide you
Yeah,
on that journey as well.
of course, I can help you do that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
And Roche, if there was one piece of advice that you could give your younger self, so when you were a car salesman, what would that piece of advice be?
Wow. I would say to take the risks that you were afraid of. So
Mm.
even when I did the car sales, I did car sales, used car sales for 4 years before I decided to make a move. So I
Yeah.
started when I was 20, well, basically 21, um, right after the rugby injuries. So if you think about that, from day one, I wanted to leave. I wanted
Mm.
to leave immediately. I didn't want to do that job. But it took me 3.5 to 4 years to eventually build up this courage to, leave and do
Yeah.
something with that I knew eventually in my heart that I didn't want to do. So I think, you know, in everything that you do, whether it's a relationship that you are with or anything like that, I think I would have just told him, like, just take that jump, you know.
Mm.
We all have these parachutes on our body, and they're quite useless if you don't jump, right? So you
Yes.
have to jump. You have to take that leap in order to, you know, pull that parachute and soar. And
Mm.
to be honest, if you fail, I always say that, but you won't die. It's
No.
gonna be tough.
True.
I think that's also a really big thing that people that come out of struggling lives and like desperate, like really bad spaces in their life is they kind of just go back to that space and they know they've handled it before. It's not the
Yeah.
end of the world. So they're not afraid to take chances. Where if you potentially
Mm.
maybe you grew up having every single thing, you might be afraid to lose it. So, you get protective parents and, oh, well, I don't want my son to get hurt, something like that. But I think you learn the most with failing and things like that. So I would just tell him to, you know what, don't do this. Just start something. Go out there, even if you have to ask your parents for money or something like that,
Yeah.
or borrow, start a small little business selling hot dogs, do something, just
Mm.
go out there and pursue your dreams, because then I would have been, 4 years ahead now already. So,
I guess everything always happens in the perfect timing though. But I
of
was I
course.
was having a laugh because my advice always says you have to get a lot of blood noses. Like you just have to roll with it, get back up, get a blood nose, get back up.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible visuals, but yes, along those lines. And Roche, last question. So you're very driven, you put your mind to anything and you can achieve it. What are I guess, your top three challenges that you have?
I think finance would always be one. Um,
Mm.
you know, Even this app, for instance, it was again in my head for quite a long time. However,
Yeah.
you needed the capital, you needed the money to invest in something like that. If someone said, "Hey, Tracy,
Mm.
here's $1 million. Australian dollars,
Yeah.
you would invest that in. I'm sure you wouldn't just go and buy silly things with it.
Oh,
You'll
no.
you'll use that money to invest in your business, and then you will grow.
Yeah,
So I think
definitely.
but so without that, obviously that will always be a challenge. And I think even if you do get that, money will still be a challenge because you want to grow. You want to now get
Mm,
two businesses or maybe three. So it's not necessarily a challenge, but it's definitely an obstacle that's always going to be there to grow. I
mm.
think that would be one. And I guess just the market itself. Um, like I mentioned before, it could change at any moment. And what
Mm,
I'm doing, luckily for me, I do feel like every single person wants to either lose weight or they want to gain lean muscle.
mm.
This You rarely find someone that's in the middle where it's just perfect and I mean, of course you do, and they're quite
Yeah.
happy with that. But there's always, for some reason, you can speak to anyone. If you ask them about their fitness journey, they're either going to say, "Well, I'm currently cutting at the moment. I'm doing well. I'm
Mm.
eating healthy," or they're saying like, "I'm trying to build some muscle." So there's always someone, and it is even with the app, it's still a personalized thing. Like you still need some help. So I'm hoping, like I said, the challenge would be like that AI doesn't take over, but I
Mm.
believe that it won't, because people need that accountability from a real person, and someone that they can follow up with them and things like that, and also that they don't create a tablet that just keeps you in shape all the time.
Yes. Hopefully
Because then I'm definitely out of a job. But um,
not.
I think that's about it. When it comes to my life, the and involves with the business, maybe the third one is just the uncertainty of where life is going to take me. I
Mm.
just got married. We are planning to move to England now.
Yes.
I want to be close to London because there's an agency in the city, a
Mm.
model agency, an acting agency. So you don't want to, commute too far to go to these
No.
castings. So, all of these things is gonna be a challenge because it's gonna
Yeah,
be more expensive to stay in London. So I think not even double, but triple the rent. To be honest, we've had a look at places.
I've
So,
heard.
you know, it's gonna be a very big adjustment. And we've got two cats. We need to travel them over.
Oh, as
So
well.
it's gonna be a whole change. So I'm hoping that, like I said, that's going to be a challenge to keep positive in a maybe
Mm.
stressful time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And
otherwise,
Roche,
otherwise, I don't see. I see challenges as how can I say? Like I'm quite excited for everything that's gonna come, and I do feel like I work well under pressure and when things
mm.
are going bad. And I feel like that's also, there's this movie called Facing the Giants where the kid, he was so small and he was such a small kid. And he asked, and they were playing football, and asked his father, like, why does God choose me? Like,
Yeah.
oh, no, sorry, why did he make me so small? Why did he
Yeah.
make me so tiny and small? And then his father said, well, he made you so small so that he can show people how big he is, you know?
Yeah.
So, any challenge, anything that I face, I kind of know that he's just going to swoop in,
Yeah.
um, and kind of just make it happen. And in that way, the same way in this podcast now, I can give that honor to him and say that everything I have is because of his grace and because of me asking him for it. And then he gave it to me. So it's just
Mm.
going to keep on happening, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, Roche. Never mind the listeners. I needed that reminder. So thank you.
No worries.
Roche, sorry, just one last question. There was
Sure.
something you spoke about on your videos, and I think it was you were saying for your clients, you always want them, and I can't remember what you called it, to have that radical, I think it was like radical take your shirt off confidence. Do you mind to walk us through that? Because obviously when someone feels confident, they just feel amazing. Like, how someone who's maybe not feeling as confident as what they should be, in terms of how can they, besides doing the steps you mentioned before, how can they reach that feeling or attain that feeling that you spoke of?
Well, I think what I meant by, by the confidence in my sense is, we don't we don't live in a world with, podcasts. I'm not sitting here topless. You don't go to a meeting
Yeah,
and
no.
take all your clothes off. But
Yeah.
there's some form of physical, like when you train. I mean, and I'll use my case for instance at the moment. I'm bulking. I'm training really hard in the gym. So and I
Yeah.
have for the last 3 weeks been eating so clean and so healthy. So I'm sitting here knowing that if I had to take off my shirt,
Was there? Yeah.
it'll look good because I've been clean, I've been disciplined. Now it
Mm.
doesn't. That's just a physical thing, and that's because
Mm.
I've been training for years. But I'm thinking in life, I feel like just if you had to train and if you had to stay consistent, the whole point is to make yourself proud, right? The
Yeah.
whole point is to show yourself that you can do it. Now if you do that, not only does it change your physical body, but mentally when you go out into the workforce, I mean, you're sitting in a meeting or anything like that, you don't necessarily have to take your shirt off, but you're sitting there a proud woman or proud
Yes.
man, knowing that, okay, cool, we're sitting here. This is my job, but I have been smashing my personal goals. And
Mm.
if anyone had to ask me, how I'm doing, I can confidently tell them like I am doing great. Yes, there
Yes.
in anyone's life there's problems, but I'm training. I'm staying disciplined. I've got really good habits. I'm reading books. I'm
Mm.
developing my mind. I'm reading really nice books that can help me grow. I'm working. My blood is flowing from exercising and activity, so I'm
Yeah.
healthy, and I'm eating good food, which means I'm actually losing weight. I can see little small like things changes here, my arm and my stomach. So I'm happy and I'm good, and that affects
Yeah.
the way you treat your partner, your colleague,
Mm.
your kids, um, and that I think, to be honest, it helps with your business as well. Because
I agree.
if you're not in a good space, you don't want to speak to a client. You want to do a
Mm.
podcast and promote your business. I mean, you're going to be, but when you're happy and you're good and you know that you're sticking to your word, I think that's also a big thing. I don't like saying stuff and not doing it.
Same.
You have to, if you tell
Yeah.
yourself like, I'm going to do this, you have to do it. And when you do, it's like, oh, it's such a pat on the back. It's so nice. And then,
Yeah.
like I said, your life's going to be good. But we speak about these things, and people that are going to listen, they might. I mean, to be honest, we all have. I've even said that on some podcasts that I've listened. That, oh, it's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Um, but I can tell you that it's it's not that hard. You just need to maybe sit and think, maybe even listen to this
Mm.
podcast again, uh, and
Yes,
and
please.
yeah, and just open your mind a bit to the
Yeah.
possibility that it is possible, because
Mm.
it is.
I think one of the best things I experienced from my health journey is that just building that trust in yourself that you can actually, achieve those goals. And a funny thing actually happened to me because I lost a lot of weight, but I was still wearing my clothes that were too baggy on me. It was like my mind still saw me as that fatty. And I was
Wow.
like, I think it was, I don't know, someone in my family ever said, Trace, I think you need to get some new pants because my pants were like all bunched and I was trying to wear a belt. And it was just, it's crazy the power of your mind, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
anyway, Roché, where is the best place for our listeners to go should they wish to connect with you?
Well, I mean, I do have a lot of places. Of course, they can have a look on Instagram,
Mm.
Facebook. They can go onto YouTube. I do say, and I mean, fortunately for them, unfortunately for me, I don't have a massive following, to a point where I have millions of people messaging me,
Not yet.
and I can't, not yet. So basically, what I'm saying is, if you want to reach out, I'm always available. I do see every single message that come through. I answer them myself. I don't have assistants or anything, so you can
Mm.
message me anytime on Instagram. You can DM. That's probably the best place, to be honest. YouTube you can comment, but I feel like Instagram, at least you can message me directly, and I have a Instagram called Kilian Fit,
Mm.
which you can. There's a little sign up there. There's a link to my website. There is a sign up where you can basically ask me a little poll questions, which I will then respond to. So you don't even have to, like, I'll know what the conversation is about. So there are quite easy ways to get a hold of me, to be honest. And then also you can just email me at roche.kilianfit@gmail.com.
Awesome. So we'll definitely pop all those in the show notes. Roché, thank you so much for all you've shared today. And I feel privileged that you set time aside for us because I believe,
Yeah.
with your mindset, you're someone who's got so many more great things to come. And thank you so much for making us a part of your journey.
Thank you, Tracy. It was fun. I enjoyed every second. Thank you.
I'm glad. Thanks so much.